Hi there. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Amo Raju, and I'm delighted this week to be joined by a friend. I won't say old friend, a friend I've known for nearly 5 years. And we have an interesting story of our friendship and how we got together, but that'll come out during this episode. The wonderful, the hugely talented, my co-author for the book Walk Like a Man, which I'm shamelessly plugging here, Manny Hayre. Manny, welcome.
Hey, man.
Manny, today I'm delighted you can join me, and you are one of the first guests that we've had on this series of podcasts, and you'll recall the interesting conversation we had when I rang you to say, do you want to join me on this
Yes.
episode? So, Manny, introduce yourself and explain why we're going to talk to each other.
That was a very interesting conversation. That will come out, I think, as we continue talking. But yeah, I didn't take offence. Luckily, I have a sense of humour. Otherwise, we would not be celebrating our 5-year anniversary of friendship. But yeah, I'm Manny Hayre. I am a ghostwriter slash co-author with Amo on Walk Like a Man. I set up my business during lockdown, actually, which is when you discovered me.
Absolutely.
I needed to make some extra pocket money. I'd lost my job, so I was like, right, I have some talent in writing. And then Amo sort of also pivoted my life a bit. I was doing sort of web copy, a few bulletins here and there, and he was like, oh, do you want to write a book? I'm like, yes. And then I was like, yeah, that's where my passion lies. I should write books. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
And we haven't looked back either.
We haven't.
It's been a great journey
for
both of us since. So today, Manny, I want to talk to you about something that I know you've got a lot of views on, and that's more around relationships.
Or lack thereof.
All the lack of relationships, as many viewers may also resonate with, particularly in the South Asian community, and the ups and downs, the cultural barriers and stigmas that exist about making relationships for when you're single. So now I've been married for 35 plus years, so I'm not really an expert on this one, but I'm going to be guided by your thoughts on this, and I may have some contribution. So start me off. What's wrong with the world? What's wrong with people and relationships?
We only have half an hour, yeah?
We do.
Yes. When you rang me, I think it was like a week or so ago, right?
It was, yeah.
It's like, oh, Manny, you'd be really great at this. And can you come on and talk about relationships? Like, you're divorced and single, right? Like, why hasn't it worked for you?
I have an odd way of phrasing things. I didn't mean it like that.
I think it's payback for all the times I made you cry and made
did
you really
make me
deep
cry.
dive over the course of writing the book. So kudos, Amo. I think we're even. But like I said, I think like I said to you, like I turned 42 this week, so it's probably you always get a bit reflective around your birthday. And after our conversation, I started thinking about it, and I touched on it a little bit, I think, with you. Now I am like the next generation after our parents. There's only a 20-year gap between me and my mum and dad. And I just think my generation, particularly in my age group, slightly older, slightly younger, we were not trained for dating. We were raised to get married and have children. We weren't raised to go out and date and swipe and, message people. And it's like it's just become this huge world of so many possibilities and options, which I think is part and parcel of the problem. And people just thinking that there's something better, so they don't commit. And I think that across every aspect of life. I don't think just relationships in general, but look how quickly we get through sort of goods or services because, something better's come along. A new app, for instance, has taken our fancy. We forget about, does anybody use Facebook anymore? I feel like I am the...
I do.
But I feel like I'm in the old school Facebook world of dating, and all these new fancy shiny things are coming up. I'm like, I just want to be in a long-term relationship and get married. And even the guys my age are just not being able to navigate that space well either. And it is a minefield.
It is. I've been to a couple of weddings in the last couple of years where the source of their relationship started on an app.
Yeah.
And I find that's really strange. I mean, call me an old git if you want, but it just doesn't compute with me.
Yeah.
But I think is that the new norm? And You know, I've had conversations with my children when I just think, I don't get this world.
Yeah.
I don't. But I think that's scary.
It
That
is.
you're putting your hands in, you know, your fate in the hands of an app.
But imagine like walking into a room as a single girl or
Yeah.
a guy, you walking into a room with say 100 people of the opposite gender, right? So I'm walking into a room full of 100 men and there's like 50 of them who just say hi. This is what an app is like. 50 of them just say hi. They haven't read your profile. The other say 20 of like give you some cheesy chat up line. They go straight to the innuendos. And then the rest of them, they can make conversation, but it kind of you feel like, oh great, you know, maybe we should meet, and then you get to that point and it's like they've just left the room without even telling you. So that's what
Oh,
it's
no.
like being on a dating app.
Oh God, oh gosh, that would make me cringe.
But a lot of, and I think even a decade younger than me and the generation after me, it's their norm, because I think vajolly are going to be a thing of the past. I don't think family members, I don't think friends of family are setting people up as much as they used to back in the day, because that's how marriages came about, right? We've got a family friend, we know someone, we know this guy, we know this girl, we'll match. I think matchmakers within the family and within the community are coming to an end, because nobody wants that stigma that if it doesn't work out, like in my case, that we were the ones that brought them together, and all that shame and everything is gone, and that blame is going to be on us. So matchmakers have become a profession that you have to now outsource, whereas you would get it for free if you want, whether you wanted it or not, within your own family. But yeah, dating apps is like that room scenario. And I always like to put in a curveball. Like, I never tell anybody about my actual real full-time job, because I do have a full-time job as well. I do tell them about the writing side of my life, because I think if they've got some modicum of intelligence, or I don't expect them to read a lot or be into writing themselves, but they need to have an interest in the arts and the creative sector
Sure.
to at least gauge my interest. And the number of guys I have like gone to speed dating events and things like that, and they only read finance books because they just want to get rich fast. And I'm just like immediately get the ick, and I'm immediately turned off. So yeah, it's
So go on then. Look, we're having a candid
Yes, we
conversation
are.
here, and this is brilliant. Tell me some of the nightmare stories you've had on those kind of.
how long have you got?
Oh,
No, I'm kidding.
Give me the worst one then.
What's one of the worst? Okay, so I matched with this guy a couple of years ago, actually. So we all know pre-2020 the world is slightly different, and I ended up going on a date with him, and he turns out to be a conspiracy theorist
Right.
about the vaccination and
Okay.
COVID. And yeah, everyone has their thoughts and opinions. And he messages me something along the lines of like, oh, if this was to go further and we were to get intimate, I don't want to catch anything off you because you've been vaccinated and I
Oh,
haven't.
okay.
And then I was just like, I didn't realise vaccination worked like STDs, where you're just going to catch them just from snogging someone or whatever. But yeah, do you know what I mean? It was just, that was one of the bizarrest interactions. But most of them have just been, can I just say, like, they've been really mundane and really boring. Like, men really do not put in the effort. And I'm sorry that I'm like...
On behalf of all men out there, I think that's just us in general. Ask my wife. We're just boring and lazy.
But you've had time to develop the boring and lazy. You got married first.
No, I was boring and lazy then as well.
But like, they're not even trying to put an effort in, because what they'll do is they'll swipe and then someone hotter will come along.
Oh gosh. Okay.
And it is a numbers game. And I worked in sales for 15 years and I left that career because I hated it, because it was a numbers game. So yeah, I think dating is the same. And people, even when you're in a relationship, I think they're always waiting for the next best thing. And that's kind of sort of similar to a situation I was in last year, where he would never fully commit to me because I think he was waiting for someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what. I mean, he was still liking other people. I think it's wrong that we have such access to social media. And when you're in a relationship, you need to be very respectful of each other. And he was still liking a lot of other girls' photos and images. And you just think, what is wrong with
That's
you?
okay.
Yeah.
Right. Oh gosh. Well,
You didn't have that back in like 35 years ago, did you?
Well,
You didn't
no, there
have
was
the
no
option
apps then. No, I mean, I had to do the old-fashioned way of trying to woo my wife, which
I-
took me 2 years, but we got there in the end.
That's what I mean, Amo. Nobody's willing to do the courting bit and the wooing and the winning people over. And I think that's the bit that's missing in the dating scene right now.
And I think the issue I've got here now is that I think it's too digital. You know, digital is all about binary on and off. You know, when you're trying to make a relationship, there's a lot of grey area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of in between, and I find that this, again, those viewers out there who may disagree with me, may think I'm a bit an old git, but I just find it a strange way of trying to meet people. You've got to have a conversation on the phone at least, or before you meet in the flesh, or virtually on we've got Teams and Zoom and Skype. Well, Skype
Even our
does
phones.
Skype still exist? I don't know.
I think it does. Yeah.
But there are ways of actually speaking to each other and meeting each other, and then get physically kind of talking to each other rather than relying on the data that's on an app, and there's no human interaction immediately.
No,
I just
there
find
isn't.
that strange.
And I find it strange too. And also, I've never been a going out person. Like, I was never at the bars and clubs and that kind of thing. It's not really my vibe. I hated it. I don't really want to be doing it now in my 40s. So that would be, I guess, your typical setting to meet someone. I guess if you were younger in your 20s. But like you say, like some of the generations now, they're still meeting on apps. So they're not even doing that.
Yeah.
They're not doing what we're told to do. And I think all the advice and all the information that we're given is you need to go out, you need to have hobbies. And then I think I have hobbies and I do go out, but who do I interact with? More women. What hobbies are men doing? Where are they congregating that we can then combine that mixing and mingling of men and women? Because I just don't think it's happening. And do men get given the same advice as women? Do we get told after a breakup, oh, you need to love yourself first before somebody else loves you, which I think is a load of, if I may so.
Bleep that, sorry viewers.
Sorry. But it is. And I don't think about some of the lowest moments of your life when you've had your wife, you've had your children, you've had your parents and your extended family. The point of a community is that on those moments where you yourself are not feeling your best, their love and their support is what helps you rebuild, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do on your own. And it doesn't matter how strong your foundation is. It doesn't matter how strong your self-worth and self-esteem is. Everybody needs somebody to lift them up. So this whole narrative of like, no one's going to love you until you love yourself is just so toxic because it puts the blame on you that, oh, there's something... You're not 100% perfect to be lovable. And I don't think men get the same advice.
No,
I think they literally just go down to the pub and then DM another girl and are they told to get hobbies and try self-love? Do they go to therapy? Do they work on themselves?
You know what? I mean, this is back to that conversation you and I had 5 years ago when we started writing my book. And one of the quotes was in the book is around men not talking and men not... and I've said this before, and forgive me if it sounds sexist. Women are great at talking immediately. As soon as you get together, you can say, guess what's on my mind? Do you know I'm annoyed about so-and-so? Blokes, it takes us hours and a few whiskies and beers before we start saying what's really annoying us. And that by then it's too late.
Yeah.
So I think and if we start to talk to each other about our own thoughts and feelings more, we probably have a better chance of sustaining those relationships with other people. Yeah. And I think that's quite sad. The other thing that, as you were talking earlier there, one of the things that came to my mind was, what about the parents here? They must be confused as hell as to what their son and daughter is looking at on the phone. Or, what are you doing? I'm trying to find a partner. I'm trying to find your next son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and I'm thinking, all right.
Yeah.
As a parent, that would freak me out.
Yes. And do you know what? I've had to be so honest with more so my mum than my dad because I don't think my dad could handle it. But I have told my mum the truth of dating apps and why some men are on there and they're literally just fishing for the next one night stand type thing because there is a lot of that. So I just had to be so open and honest and blunt with her. And then the other thing was because you swipe, you go on a date, you don't want to tell your parents about every single date or coffee interaction or this or phone call. And it's got to the point now where my parents are like, just tell us when the wedding is. Because I think it's just as traumatizing for them as it is living through it. Because they're obviously, this is a new world to them as well.
That generation where they were told, they did as they were told by their parents, is now having to say to their children, okay, we're going to do as you tell us.
So, yeah.
I'll just stand there with the checkbook ready to pay for your wedding.
basically.
It's
Like, I want my parents to now find me a husband. Like, like they wouldn't, like they tried 20 years ago. Because now I'm like, you told me to try and find a man, and I did, and it didn't work out. So clearly I'm doing it wrong. So now it's over to you.
I don't know if you're doing it wrong. I think it's just the world out there has changed. People have become more inward, and they kind of it's harder for them to actually connect with people.
But you know how you were saying you wooed your wife for 2 years, and you really you knew you wanted her. All of that has gone. I'm not saying for everybody, but I think generally that has gone, and people aren't willing to sacrifice or compromise or because it's like almost a game in this sense, isn't it? It's just like, oh, I can't be seen to be weak. I can't be seen to be like this type of person who's going after a woman who I'm really interested in, because that's going to make me less of a man. So it's just easier to cut ties with her and find the next thing. And I think it's for both genders. I just don't think that effort is being put into a relationship. It's almost just like, is there a long-term plan here? Because I'm at the point now where if I am talking to someone or dating them, I'll be like, are you dating to marry? Because if you're not, don't waste my time. I would literally be like, you know what, I'll go on a couple of dates with you, but if I figure out that this is just a time pass for you and we're not going to get married at the end of this, I don't mean like immediately, it could be like a couple of years later. And that was the same as the situation I had last year.
You just put your wedding dress on.
I know I should, right? I should just
on the first date.
Turn up in my lenga. Matching wedding bands. Is this your size?
I brought a Mendy artist with me.
Registry office down the road. Let's go.
Oh gosh, all right. No, look, this is kind of, as I say, it's all new world for me. I mean, I was speaking to somebody who's got married and has been for a couple of years through meeting on a dating app, and I asked him, I said, why did you choose that route? And he said, I'm just genuinely too busy. He goes, I'm working 12-hour days and I have weekends off, but by that time I'm absolutely shattered.
Yeah.
And the mental energy required to go and find somebody, it just wasn't there. So this was, in the evening with having a beer, it was quick to have a look at. So I get that, but then again, I just thought, wow, what a gamble. Yeah. What a risk. But he's happy. It turned out that he's
I've known plenty of men and women, and I went to a wedding last year where they met on Hinge, and it became part of their love story. It became part of their wedding. That's how they met. And
right.
I think there is success to it.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of, I think you've got to be really, really confident in how you look and not let it deter you, because I know because I've been on dating apps on and off for the last decade. I've tried all the shadi.coms. This is not an ad for any of them, but I've tried all like the Asian ones, the non-Asian ones, the ones in between. I've tried Facebook, I've done dating, and
ones in between. What are they? I'm talking to an old git here. What's the ones in between?
It's kind of like your Tinders and your Plenty of Fishes and.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they are notoriously known for like hookups, but I have also known people who have met their other half on Tinder. So you've got your normal apps and stuff like that, and your Asian ones. If there's been an app, I have tried it and it has failed, because now they're also changing the algorithms because they all want you to pay for a subscription. So they're hiding all the hot people behind a paywall. They're not showcasing you in front of, like, say, the 20%.
So what is the subscription?
Honestly, I think they range between like £8 a month to £50 a month or whatever. It just depends on what it is that.
So let's say it took you 2 years, and 2 years later you spent a couple of £100. Okay, I get that. So in the old days when you had a matchmaker, you'd have to buy them a gold ring.
Gold ring, yeah, that was their fee, right?
So technically, it's the same thing, the matchmakers are getting the gold ring. Technically, I get it. But all right, I'm learning something here. This is all new to me. But I don't know, it's a world that frightens me, and I think many viewers out there of my age will probably not, it doesn't probably compute and equate with them as to what's going on. But I know there is a generation out there who that's their sole avenue to finding a date. Have you tried the traditional ways as well? I mean, have you met anybody that was through introduction from a mate or anything like that?
Do you know what? No, I need better friends, Amo. I need better friends. Not a single one in my family, in my friendship circle, has ever introduced me to anyone that they thought
Right,
was.
now you're making me feel guilty. Let me have a look. I'll pick up my phone afterwards.
So
and
for
look
everyone
through
who watches this who knows me, I'm just like, by the way, you've all failed.
No,
But I just, I get, okay, so I do sometimes get sent potentials,
right.
and then that makes me feel worse than if I was on a dating app, because
Why?
okay,
Why does that mean?
I see myself in a certain light. I don't think I come across the age that I do, especially not mentally. I don't think I look my age. I have a very youthful outlook on life. I'm a bit opinionated.
Just a little.
Yeah, just a tad. And then I will get like a photo through, or someone's interested in me. And I mean this in the nicest possible way. It makes me want to shoot myself, because I just think, how is the world perceiving me that they think a 55-year-old man, like, no offense to anyone who's that age,
No, I'm not taking anything.
and who's shorter than me and a bit has not looked after himself. He's clearly, like, you know, got married and older children. But that seems to be the thing that is sent my way. And I'm like, okay.
Got you.
Where are all the fit, tall men? You know, the ones that I would be attracted to. And I promise I'm not being a snob, but I'm not attracted to men very quickly. And it has to take a special kind of someone. And I don't just mean physically, I mean also personality and emotional intelligence wise. For them to pique an interest in me enough for me to have a conversation, let alone date them. Which is why, like, so my last relationship ended in August last year. I just knew from a few conversations towards the end that he was never going to prioritize me. It was just never going to happen. He expected me to be like the women in his family, just shut up and put up. I'm like, if you know me, you know that's not the life I'm going to live. And before then, I was dating someone for a few months, but there was a 2-year gap between that person and this person. Right. So for me, yeah, there's interest and there's potential people I could date, but I'm at that point where I'm not dating for the sake of dating. Like I said, I'm dating to get married. Yeah. And it's not just about physical looks. It's about that connection that you have with someone. And sometimes that takes a while for me to then connect. Sure. So the whole swiping thing, yeah, they might be fit. They might look okay in a picture. But imagine doing that for 10 people every night.
Oh God, that's just exhausting.
Exactly. Literally took the words out of my mouth. And that's exhausting. And at some point you do become a little bit like, a little fed up of the whole process. Yeah, so I need better friends, Amo.
I'll do my best.
Thanks. That's why I came all the way down here.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you know, I've known you for 5 years, you know, and I'm guilty because I don't stay in touch as much as I ought to. I think you are as well.
Yeah, we are. We're both as bad as each other.
But I will try my best now to look a little bit wider. All my friends have married and got kids and stuff, so I haven't got anybody.
See, now I'm just waiting for everyone to get divorced. I was hoping there'd be an upsurge after the pandemic when all the couples have to stay together for 2 years. But there hasn't been the upsurge that I was expecting.
Oh, gosh. Well, the thing is, I mean, you know, it is the way forward in terms of the way society is going, in terms of the concept of finding love or relationships or even friendships, and it's something people like me are going to have to get used to. That's the way the world is going. Yeah. But I still think there is room. There is space for the old conventional, traditional. Yes. Methods, you know.
I need a new family as well.
Yeah.
I have asked my family. I've asked my extended family, and I don't know if anyone takes me seriously because I am quite independent and very like, you know, jokey about the whole thing. But I think deep down, who doesn't want companionship for life? And you know, I'm getting older. I had a health scare a couple of years ago with my heart, and as you know, and we spoke about that fear. Yeah. And there are certain moments, and you don't feel like you're getting older, but your body is telling you otherwise. And it's just about companionship and having that person, I guess.
I think there's also something around, you talked about asking family and friends, but there's also this thing, you know, every time I've met you, you've been a very lively soul. And people will think, well, man, he's doing okay.
That's exactly
She's
what
okay. She's
yeah.
happy, and she's she, you know, adding a bloke to her life is just going to make things worse.
Yes and no.
So you know, there could be that element. So you know, anybody out there,
This is literally just like a half an hour ad to try and find me a husband by the end of the year.
but being serious, I think you know
Yeah.
you do. Buying, I want to come to your wedding, so quickly. You know, I'm not just trying. I've got the suit and tie
You want
ready.
your gold ring, don't you?
I was a betroller last year. I was a matchmaker last year for
you?
somebody, and I didn't get one. I didn't
you
get
not?
no.
Oh, come
I
on,
didn't
Amo.
ask for one either. But the point I'm making is it still does happen.
It does.
You can introduce people to,
Yeah.
and they can hit it off, and they can. So as I say, there is still space for that. But that
There
method,
is.
and I think more people. You want to know my prediction is my crystal ball is
Go
saying
on.
that we will, as a society, come back to that way of thinking.
I think so.
When digital avenues are exhausted, I think we will come back to the traditional way of bringing in that auntie and uncle and saying, "Got anybody in mind?" No, I don't want them. No, get them out of my head.
I think so. I mean, you did hit the nail on the head in terms of, you know, I am fairly independent. I've like, you know, I think I said this to you on our phone call as well. It's just I'm a strange mix because I don't need to be provided for in terms of material things because I've provided for those by myself. I've done all of that. I don't need anyone to buy me a house or a car or pay like the mortgage and bills and have that traditional gender role. And again, I think for my generation, we're not that far off our parents' generation where the man was the provider. I am my own provider, and I do think you're right in terms of like, oh yeah, she's doing all this stuff. Like a man is just going to hinder that. The man isn't there for the material possessions. He's there for the nights where I am lonely. I've got no one to talk to, or like I said, I had this health scare, and there were a few moments where I collapsed in my own home, and there was nobody around, and it's those moments where you just think, how lovely would it be to have my person to spend those evenings with,
and vice versa, because they could equally
yeah,
need
it's the
somebody
same for
for
them
the
as
same.
well.
You know,
Absolutely.
just like yourself,
And
they
share
could
meals
be,
and just tiny little moments
I get
that make up life. And it's the sharing the meal, it's the going on little planned trips and adventures and hikes, which I've suddenly got into. But
you walk a lot, don't you?
I do walk a lot, and I go on a lot of hikes and stuff. But it's those key moments. It's the emotional compatibility. It's the companionship. It's the friendship. It's the laughter. It's the joy. All of that. Get rid of all the provider nonsense that men have. Like, I need to be the protector provider. No, just be a nice, normal human being with an emotional intelligence range, and you're good to go.
That's all she's asking for.
It's not much.
Come
I'll
on.
say if he's over 6 foot, even better, because I'm quite tall.
Yeah, I mean, first time I met you, I did actually strain my neck looking. I thought she's very tall.
Yeah, we didn't meet for like a good year.
I know.
After
Yeah, for those of you that don't know the story, Manny and I met virtually for the first 6 months, and then when when lockdown started, we started coming out of lockdown, and we first met. I just thought, great, wow, she's tall. I've never met someone like you, and I thought, brilliant, right? So there's another perspective. But look, the thing is here, Manny, I sincerely hope you do find a relationship, because if anybody deserves one, it's you. You're a nice, wonderful person. I've known you for so long. I'm trying to make you cry. It's not working, is it?
This makeup's too good to make me cry. Later.
But I'm going to thank you. We've actually, you can believe it, we've come to half an hour nearly. You've been an amazing guest, and I am going to actually invite you again to talk, because I know there's so many subjects you and I could cover. So thanks for coming. Have you got anything final you want to say to anybody out there?
Just, do you know what? If you are single and it doesn't happen for you, which sometimes I don't think it will happen for me, is like, just live your life and live it to the happiest, most content version that you can live, because I have found such peace after everything I've been through, and honestly, I'm in such an amazing place. And I just think, remind yourself that the romantic relationship element is not the be all and end all. As much as we crave it as humans, my life is packed with so much just goodness and greatness that I appreciate that as much as I can. And thank you.
Fantastic. No, I couldn't have said it better myself. This is Manny Hayre, and been talking to Amo, and I'm so delighted you came down together. You were late, but you got here in time. You got it just in time. But once again, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you again next time on the Ambassador Talks.